All right. Says we're live. Says that we are live. So, all right. Give it a couple minutes for everybody to jump on. Then I'll start. Tonight we're talking kayaks. So, the kayak guys, this one's for you. And for all the future people that might be watching this video, this is for you also. So, there's a lot of questions about tournaments and how the world is spinning right now and how things are going and a lot of things like that. So basically, like I said, give it a couple minutes. Let me know if you can hear me. Type something, say something. But yeah, kayaks. This is going to be how to get started and how to win your first one. Okay, so I was pretty fortunate that when I first started, it didn't take me too long. At least it didn't take me too long to get my first win, and I still remember it like it was yesterday too. Don't get me wrong, I skunked out a lot before I got my first win. It wasn't a major win too. It was just it's a jackpot. It's a big bass jackpot. That was it. So like I said, it's not exactly time yet. The scheduled time is 7:30, so it's only 7:20. But I guess I'll start a little bit early. Try not to make it too long tonight. I got some other stuff I got to do, some more videos I got to edit. But yeah, 10 minutes. Give it 10 minutes. So if you're watching, not live or rerun or something, then you can forward out to 10 minutes. Because we're gonna start at 7:30. It's only 7:20. This is basically just hangout time. So if you're in here, you got a question, it could be anything. Before 7:30, let me know. We'll just answer it. Any questions, curiosities, that type of stuff. And we're also, this is the first time on the new camera and all the new mic too. So let me know how that's going. I know last week we had some major difficulties and we actually had to abandon this workstation and we had to go to a laptop and it wasn't super video good quality, but still got a lot of good information out there. I mean, you just have to, not mind too much about how bad the quality was, and you would have gotten some real good information on the striper fishing on the lakeside, which is something we do a lot. A lot of stripers on the lakeside. Definitely gonna do a lot more of that this year. Probably gonna do a little bit less bass fishing. We're gonna nitpick some events, but overall, I think we're going to throttle back quite a bit. Probably half the events we're not going to go to. Somehow, magically, we still want to get to the state finals. So we're gonna pick and choose a couple nice ones and cross our fingers, and hopefully we make it. Okay, but if we don't, we don't. It's not a priority this year. The last 5 years, making the state championship has been the goal every year because it's something that I know a lot of people they don't shoot for, but for us it was a big thing because it keeps you going if you have a future goal that is a accumulation of a bunch of little things and not just like I'll pick this event, I'll go to it, do real good, win it, and forget about the rest of the year. State championship, I think they take the top 40. It depends on the year it is, but top 40, top 30, top 50. And then a couple mini invites from other groups as well. But the Oklahoma Kayak Anglers State Championship, it always puts out every year. It's always a difficult time. It's never really a slugfest. Even though they had that one at Lake Murray where everybody caught a limit, it was all little fish, and you just never know. You just never know who was going to catch a big fish. Same with this year, Broken Bow, awesome lake, but once again, catching those 16, 17 inches was extremely hard. And they were not easy to come by. A couple of them came unglued, and we didn't win. But I think if we had buttoned everything up. If we day one was good. It was just day two. Day two we missed a couple. Not even missed. We had them on and came unglued at the kayak. Uh, but if that didn't happen, there's a slight chance. Slight chance could have been the second state championship. Could have been, but that's part of fishing, and it is what it is. So we've got a pretty cool video coming out. I think it's one of those videos where no one here might want to watch. It's one of those videos where if it's a technical video. So uh, I tried to, the long followers, the hardcore followers of the channel, know we have this John boat. The John boat's a simple pull cord, and there's no charging capabilities on it. There's no power trim. There's no power tilt. Everything's manual, right? But I've always wanted the capability to charge a battery or keep the battery maintained while the engine's on. So I actually went and gone ahead and did the modifications on it, or installed some things on it to give me the capability to just basically keep the trolling battery, up and running. And if you got that going, then usually you'll be all right. Do they allow you to use float and fly during a tournament? Yeah, it's you control. You control an umbrella rig. So float and fly ain't no thing. We actually have a person in the Tuesday nights that he comes out, he throws a fly rod. Okay, and he's won a couple times. It's amazing. It's amazing. So don't be tempted. Okay, don't be scared if you're not doing conventional things. The Tuesday nights versus the I'll get into it in a bit. Once it's 5 minutes from now, I'll get into it real in depth. I'm trying to paint a picture that will allow everybody to be really comfortable. At least get your your head in the right spot before you go to an event, right? Because I wish I had this video before I started. And for the guys that are hesitant, or the guys that are just maybe you're just bored, right? That's a possibility too to go fish a tournament. Uh, because some of the guys I know they're really good fishermen. They even have kayaks too, but they just don't fish bass. So this is kind of that video too. So if you're really good with other species, or you're just getting bored, and you want to meet new friends, you want to do something outside the box. Tournament kayak fishing is it'll definitely get you to start thinking outside the box. You're going to travel to cities you've never heard of. You'll be eating at gas stations half the time. That's not even a joke. I mean, that's the reality of a tournament fisherman. You'll be pushing the limits. Some people like to sleep in tents at state parks. I tend not to, so I rather just wake up, drive real early, or rent a hotel room or something of that kind. So for me, it's kind of either one or all, nothing or all of it. So either I'm gonna go rent Airbnb, a hotel, or something comfortable, or I'm just gonna say I'm gonna get up at 2 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning and go. So some of our events are some of our bigger events are pretty far drive. But kayak tournaments, man, it really depends on what you really want out of it. In the beginning, you really can't expect to win. I know a lot of guys get real lucky and they're just right place, right time, first event, and they win, and they think it's that simple, and they come back and it's not that simple. So that's the reality of kayak fishing or tournament fishing in general. Or and a lot of the guys that are veterans. I kind of consider myself a veteran now. I've been doing it for about 5 years now, so a lot of things under my belt. Just being around the industry, really in a sense, just kind of keeping tabs on what's going on. We read a lot, keep up with the forums, even though I don't comment too much. Not the forums, the Facebook groups. I don't comment too much, but I keep my ear on it, my left ear on it. And there's a lot of weird things floating around, but there's a lot of good things that are floating around too. So a little bit of background in the racing world and how you can bend rules a little bit, that type of stuff. So coming up on 7:30, just 3 people watching, but a lot of people will watch this later, I'm sure. When it comes to kayak fishing, man, I mean, it's one of them things, Grab a drink or whatever, come back. Start in 2 minutes. And I'll give you my credentials too. So before, I know there's a lot of people who are going to be just randomly chiming in or watching later. So I'll start off with my credentials, right? Credentials are going to be on Tournix, and just look up my name. It's Kong Shong is KONG XIONG. Shong is the last name. I've been fishing since 2016, so that's 5 years. Biggest bass is 24 inches, officially measured during a tournament too. So I've actually started fishing 2015, if you really think about it. 2016 was probably the first official season, but I jumped on board late 2015. I fished 2 tournaments, I think 2 tournaments in 2015, and I bombed both of them. Yeah, I bombed both of them. But learn from your mistakes, and you get better and better and better and better and better. All right, so it is 7:30. So everybody jumping in. Right now is probably a good time to ask your questions. But anyhow, let me get started. So when you start, you're not gonna have any of these credentials, but this is kind of what I've been doing, and these are going to be my highlights or highlight achievements. I'll start in 2016, and I'll kind of just briefly go above, and kind of just list it all real fast. But you can find all this stuff on Tournament X or TourneyX.com. You can look up Angler Profile. You can find all this over there. But 2016, let's just start with in Oklahoma. I fished a lot of the Hook One Big Bass jackpots. There was 15 events held. I won 5 of them. So that was my initial breakthrough year, you can say, as a tournament angler. Now, not on many levels, but that was the lowest level, you can put it that way. That was a jackpot, big bass only, winner takes all type format. And then as the year continued, I fished a little bit more on the Oklahoma Kayak Anglers, and I did not qualify to go to a national championship. So I went to the Oklahoma versus Texas. We had a rivalry kind of tournament. We just dubbed it the Red River Rivalry. Top 3 anglers get an invite to TLC. So this is way before Hobie, way before everybody kind of latched on TLC. So Red River Rivalry on Texoma. Don't know Whopper Plopper. I came in second place. Should have won it. I think I lost to Guillermo. Anyways, 2016 Tournament of Champions came in the top 20. There was 120 some people there. I came in 13th, so I was the 13th place. 2016, there was a kayak super series that was held in the wintertime. I won the December event, and then like I said, Tournament of Champions, Yak for it, Tournament of Champions, 13th place. In 2017, went back to the Tournament of Champions, got 9th place. So that's one of the major highlights. Also, for that year, in Oklahoma Kayak Anglers, I caught a 24-inch bass. I was the big bass record holder for a live event. And then that year, I kind of figured out what was going on. So we fished, I think it was 6 or 7 events, and I came into the top. I came to the top 10, 6 of those events. Top 10, 6 times. And then my buddy Mike beats me in Angler of the Year. So I came in second place. Angler of the Year, I lose by 1 point. And then I also qualified for the 2017 state kayak invitationals. So I went to that. I think I bombed that one, but I think my brother won. So we have a lot of knowledge between the two of us. In 2018 is the year I get another top five at the state championship, and I win like these online events. So I've also won a couple online events too. Yeah, a couple of them, but always in the top five. But it seems like I've won a couple of them, where you basically fish wherever you want, right? And then in 2019, Broken Bow Classic, second place. Won a kayak in 2019, and also just Angler of the Year stuff. 2019 came in top 10. 2020 Oklahoma Kayak Anglers Championship, top 10 again. And this is just kind of listing things off real fast. Now I'm just focusing on bigger titles. I'm still doing pretty good in all these other little events, but now we're just talking the top tier titles. Okay. So in 2021, 2021 was one of those years where I think I just became a veteran of the sport. Like I feel like I'm a veteran of the sport, where you don't have to prep as much, you don't have to predict things as much. You kind of just go with the flow and just kind of fish what's in front of you. And there was one of those years where it was that cliche saying, you mess around and you win a championship. That was one of those years. 2021 was it was one of those years where I was telling who like we're not even gonna try to make a run at the we don't even care if we get close to the Angler of the Year title. And you go out and you start messing around, and a couple events in, you win one, another event in, you like top 10, top 5. You know how it goes. Before you know it, you're in second place and you're you're almost in the Angler of the Year runnings. So it comes out of one last event. You're like, all right, I guess we'll really focus on this one, and we don't win. We come in fourth place, and I think another guy, Jason Ray, he's got a back to back Angler of the Year. He beats me by 2-3 points, something like that. So once again, I'm back in the Angler of the Year race, and this is the Angler of the Year race on the Oklahoma Kayak Anglers, right? Which is probably the hardest one to win. Okay, I'll be honest. It gets harder and harder every year. It feels like. And then Tulsa Bassathon. There's the jackpots for Tuesday nights. I win the Angler of the Year for that. So that's pretty cool. And on top of that, another good accomplishment is if you're following the channel, the 2021 Oklahoma Kayak Anglers, the stop where it's a spring stop in Lake Uchi or Spavinal Roadrunner. I ended up winning that tournament. So there's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things. So anyways, the Tulsa Bassathon, I think I won 2 or 3 of those events. I came in second place, I believe 6 times, something like that. Some crazy amount of second places. Which second place in a jackpot, they don't pay anything. Unless you get a big participant group. But for the most part, we're under 20 guys going in on a Tuesday night event, and they don't pay second place. So, because if they did, I think I would have done real good too. But I didn't. Second place, they don't pay. So basically, that's what it is. So let's get started. How do you get started in the kayak fishing world? So a lot of guys are looking at it like I need to go out and invest a lot of money into a kayak and into a rig and get fish finders and get all this other stuff, like all the stuff you see on my kayak. Now, if you're just starting, I actually advise against it. I highly advise against it because there's too many things for you to juggle, and your mind's not up to the task yet. Put it that way. Because your mind's not. If I give you my kayak, you will not do well. You will not do well in it if you've never kayak fished before. So what I'm saying is, okay, my kayak, I usually have a front hatch, completely loaded with plastics or whatever lure I might think I might want that day. It's completely loaded, maybe 20 pounds worth of plastic, and then you have some people call it 4 tackle trays. I just have two, but it's like a double stacked tackle tray. We have a big tackle tray, and then we have other other things that may or may not. I don't even know what happened. Maybe might have lost internet connection there. So I don't know if it works. Let me check my internet connection, see if it still works. It says it still works. Give me a thumbs up if you're still connected. Okay. Okay. I got this weird warning that says your connection is unstable. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Yeah. So, anyways, uh, getting a Hobie Pro Angler 14 at 4,500. I'll be honest, it's a very very big step. And on top of that, you didn't buy anything yet. So for some guys coming in, they're really intimidated just because they see our rigs and then they're like, "There's no way I can beat those guys." But the reality is, you can beat us any day of the week. That's what fishing's all about. That's why fishing's so good. That's why tournament fishing's so good. So let me give you an example, right? If you're coming out on the Tuesday nights, which is where you probably should start. So there's three tiers, right? There's the jackpots tier, and this is true for all across the board, right? It doesn't matter if you're from Oklahoma, Texas, Florida, California, wherever you're from, right? There's always a like, say you divide it into three tiers, right? There's the entry level guys where we're just mainly fishing like one off events. Like there might be a random Saturday event. There might be a charity event. There might be the jackpots where you're kind of like going around, just kind of fishing around. But the guys are not super competitive. It's a good mix of amateurs and say touring pros or whatever you want to call them, right? So there's that level. There's a level of like we're just basically here to have fun, okay? And then there's the circuits that actually go from city to city to city to city, where they actually have guys that come from out of town that follow a schedule. Okay, so for our example, the lower tier, that's the Bassathon, Tulsa Bassathon, or the OKC. At one time, they were called the Working Mans. Okay, the Working Mans. I think they've changed. I keep forgetting what their name was. Somebody let me know if you guys remember what it was. But because there's two of those like mini leagues, right? And then there's the Oklahoma Kayak Anglers, which is the one that goes statewide. Okay, so people are willing to travel 2-3 hours to go fish a tournament. The fees are a little higher. The competition's a lot better. The rigs are all decently rigged. Okay, so for the most part, the main difference is when you're looking at kayaks, like a Walmart kayak, you probably could possibly see at a Tuesday night, but you're not going to see that kayak on the Oklahoma Kayak English Tour. Not like it's not that they won't allow you to go on it. It's just people kind of like filter themselves out, right? Because if you see the videos of you put it up, you'll notice a lot of those rigs are pretty rigged, pretty well rigged. You're talking live scoops. I mean, all the works, right? That has a lot of money invested, and that's also a lot where a lot more of the guys who are sponsored they run that circuit too. Where the Tuesday nights, anybody who's going to be there is going to be there, you know. And then on top of that, if you get to the next echelon, which is the touring pros, basically, where they travel state to state. So instead of city to city, they travel state to state, and entry fees are ridiculous. Entry fees can be $200 to $400. The pay could be anywhere from they pay the top 10%. So if you get 200 guys at $200 a piece, they might pay down to like 20th place, and 20th place might pay $800. 800. First place might pay 10,000, something like that, 10, 15,000. It might pay like that. So those top touring levels, you're talking Bassmasters has a touring level, and then there's a Hobie. They have a touring level. There's also the All American Kayak Classic touring level, and then there's another one. Keep on forgetting what it was, but there's four major tour levels. So, but that's not what we're talking about. I just want you guys to understand there's a lot. There's a lot going on, and really there are no qualifications. If you want to go fish, you just pay your fee and you're in. It's not like a ladder system that you have to qualify through, except the championships, the invitationals. Those are actually qualified. But for the most part, if you go to one event, you do pretty good in the top three, you get your invite. I think in some of them, if you actually win the event, you get the invite and you get the free entrance. Okay, but yeah, competition makes you better. That's the thing. Like that's one thing that's the major difference between us when we're striper fishing versus when we're bass fishing. Don't get me wrong, I love my stripers. If I'm just gonna have fun, stripers where I'm doing. That's what I'm doing all day. But even if it's in a kayak, that's striper fishing. Okay, that's what I want to do. But the tournament world, it allows you to do something else. Like it literally tells you where you are in your fishing abilities. Not the ability to catch a certain species, your just overall fishing ability. Because in the world of bass fishing, all that searching for fish, all those techniques, they translate right over to stripers. It's just it's much more intense on the bass side because instead of 5 guys running around the lake trying to catch stripers, it could be 200 guys running around on the lake trying to catch bass. So, uh, so say if I was going to start all over, right? Circa 2020, and I'm a nobody. I don't know anybody. This is what I would do. Okay, so you get yourself, and you're on a budget. You gotta be on a budget. But we're not going to start off with a Walmart kayak, okay? Because we're coming in this like fairly serious, right? Fairly serious. Like I know what kayak fishing is, but at the same time, I want to buy a kayak that I can use for a little bit for at least a year or two, right? So there's really two things I really would say look for. Okay, the number one thing you should buy is a power pole. I know it's $700. It is expensive, right? But that one piece of equipment is much more valuable than say 8 rods or a fish finder or a pedal drive kayak. Okay, because a lot of times when you're starting out, you don't you don't have the knowledge to make a lot of decisions on where to run to what part of the lake or make that critical decision to make that long run. So a lot of times you're just kind of putting around when you're new. That's what I kind of did. And half the time my problem was when I move up to a certain spot, I would actually float into it and actually destroy that area. So when you have a power pole, you can anchor yourself down. And we're fishing like super shallow too, less than 5 foot. Okay, so when you're drifting around, you want to pull. You don't want an anchor. Let me explain the anchor problem too. The anchor, and there's a lot of fancy anchors out there too. Don't get me wrong, the ones where you can drop the lines and the ones you can like crank and stuff like that. Okay, the anchor I'm not a fan of at all because I carry an anchor on the kayak also, and I use it when I absolutely have to, but I try not to. I try to avoid it at all costs because when you drop an anchor down the water, one it goes and it like hits the dirt. There's a big thump, so there goes your element surprise, and then it kind of drags as your kayak is being blown by the wind. That doesn't work very well. And on top of that, your kayak's like swaying in the wind too, so it's like it's it doesn't present the stealth idea very well. So either buy a new one or source a used one somehow. The kayak doesn't really matter, like 2021, you should be able to get one that allows you to stand. Okay, standing on a kayak is a big advantage. You pair that with a power pole, bigger advantage. Okay, and I hope everybody takes that like real seriously too, uh, especially in the springtime. Okay, in the springtime, a power pole will probably help you win your first tournament. I'm not even gonna lie. So, uh, and you don't even. I didn't. Like I said, don't even buy a fish finder. Don't even buy it. You need to work on making decisions on where to start fishing, where to give up on fishing, and when and where. Like picking your spots. Like you need to work on that. Like springtime, the very first event, say halfway through March and April. This is where equipment does not matter. Your equipment doesn't matter. It's all about luck at that moment. Uh, all the fish are on the bank. It doesn't matter how good of a fisherman you are. You just have to find them. Once you find them, you're just gonna catch them. It's really that simple. Like in the springtime, that's probably the best way you're gonna win a tournament too in the spring. And the key lure. I'm even gonna tell you the lure too. Okay, it is a Senko wacky rig on your spinning rod. Okay, that's it. Okay, in the springtime, I go out. I still have 8 rods loaded up, but most of my damage will be done on a Senko. In a tournament situation, most of your damage that you're gonna do is with a Senko. For the guys that don't know what a Senko is, a Senko is basically a worm that looks like a pin. It looks just like a pin. It's got one blunt end, one sharp end, and just get one that's green. If you have clear water, if you have muddy water, get one that's black. And it's actually about the size of a pin too. You take a hook and you just stab right through the middle, and that's it. You can get a weedless hook, not weedless, doesn't matter. Your goal basically is to cast it everywhere, just everywhere. Every 3 feet, make a cast to the bank, pull it back, 10 feet, bomb it out again. The more casts you make, the more bites you're going to get. And you're going to catch big ones too. Don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of little ones, and then you're going to get a bunch of big ones. They don't care. They don't care at all. So, Senko, springtime, doesn't matter the kayak, as long as you can stand. I feel like standing is it's a major advantage because you can actually see. So the higher you are, the more you can see over stuff, right? So we're talking about fishing in springtime. You can see beds a lot better than if you're sitting down. So that's why I want you to get a kayak that you can stand up on. It doesn't matter what brand, as long as you can stand up on it. If you have a power pole too, that's it. It's done. It's like your kayak might be $2,000 brand new, or if it's used, it might be $1,000 depending on how you play the market. But that's it. It doesn't matter. Like you don't have to get a pedal drive. You use the traditional paddle. It doesn't matter that time of year because you don't want to move around too much anyways. Go to a pocket, just Senko everything. It doesn't matter if it's grass. Doesn't matter if it's laydowns. Doesn't matter if it's pebble rocks. Doesn't matter if it's all the above. And Senko just straight catches them during the uh, late February to April. The Senko's it's on every pro's deck. I guarantee you, it's on there. I have a Senko title on from early March to April, and then the Senko is no longer part of the arsenal, really. But Senko, it is all these bait manufacturers. They make so many versions of it. But the Yamamoto Senko is probably ranked number one all time. But it's kind of expensive, right? It's like $7 a pack. My brother Hua swears by it. I hardly ever throw that. I throw all the Bass Pro stickle worms. Basically, it's a clone. Yum makes one. It's called a Dinger. It's pretty good too. Uh, but yep, that is how you're gonna win your first one. Okay, for the guys that have absolutely no clue what they're doing, that's probably the best way to do it. The second thing is if you want to build upon it. Oh yeah, forgot the rod and reel setup. So rod and reel setup, springtime, big lines. If you have a spinner. Doesn't matter what kind of spinner rod, but at least I would like to say 7 foot spinner rod, 15 pound braid, 15 pound leader. Or you can just do straight braid. Actually, it doesn't even matter at that point. Straight braid to the hook, 15 pound line, 20 if you think you're around some bigs. I'm talking. If you're around like 8, 9 pounders, step it up to 20. But if you're just, a lot of 14, 15 inches, that class of fish, 15 pounds, plenty. And just gonna throw it everywhere. Like I said, throw it everywhere. Every stump, every blade of grass, every deep hole, everything that looks white in a black area, everything that looks black in a white area. Everywhere, every time. The more casts you make, the more fish you're just gonna catch. Okay? So that's rod number one. If you have another favorite, then use that as well. Okay, so now you're up to 2 rods. And that's it. And that's it. That's all you need in the springtime. Yeah, pretty much. The Senko is real slow. That's the only caveat of throwing the Senko. But if you incorporate something fast with it, say a chatterbait or a top water of some kind, you could actually do. That's a great 1-2 punch, and that's what we've been doing the last 3 years. You kind of go out and you want to figure out what's going on. If you have a whole day to do it, then that's great. If you fish the kayak anglers tour, where you actually get 8 hours to figure something out, then yeah, go ahead and rig up 8 rods, whatever. But if you're fishing the jackpots, you only have like 2 hours. In 2 hours, you don't have a lot of time to figure stuff out. You got to go there, catch three scoreable bass. Okay, so the Tuesday nights we go out. Like I said, in the springtime, it really doesn't matter. You bring a lot of rods and reels, but you really only use one, and that's the Senko. Just Senko everything. And if you've already caught 3, then you can kind of go to something else. But for the most part, man, Senko every time, everywhere. Holes won tournaments on it. I've won tournaments on it. My buddy Jeff's won tournaments on it. My buddy Two Vu's won tournaments on it. Springtime is ridiculous. There's a moment in time when they want the Senko and nothing else. And if once they get off the Senko, then they might want to chase something, and then you throw like bluegill stuff. And bluegill works pretty good too, but for the most part, Senko, like 2 colors, like I said, green pumpkin with a whole bunch of shiny flakes. The shinier the better, right? Green pumpkin, and then you have black, straight black. If you can get straight black, I don't even care if it's black and blue, but I just like straight black. I like straight black a lot. I like straight black a lot. Okay, so let's say the kayak is not that important because you're not going to be offshore. You're going to be 5 foot or less. Most of the times, you're going to be in 2 foot. Okay, so that's when the pedal drives you can't even use. Right, you actually have to take the pedal drive out. So for the guys that are not on the pedal drive, it's an advantage. Sad to say, but $4,000 kayak starts acting like a $1,000 kayak. So when it comes to kayaks that are in the $1,000 range, I haven't been paying too much attention. I know there's a lot of good ones coming out right now. A lot in the past 2 years, lots and lots of good kayaks coming out. Especially like I said, if you're just trying to win that first one, throw a jackpot. That's probably what most people are going to be doing. Pretty legit. Drop shot's pretty good too. Like I said, if you find the fish on beds already and they don't want the Senko, drop shot is probably the next best tool. It probably is, but you got to rig it in a different way. Power drop shot is what it's called. 20-pound fluorocarbon, 4-aught flipping hook with the nastiest creature bait you can find, dipped in garlic, chartreuse. Throw it in there. Throw it right in the bed. Just wiggle it. They'll come and get it eventually. You might have to win. Yeah, you might have to wait in 5 minutes, but they'll come and get it. Yeah, Rip and Lips Junkie, kayak tournaments. Yeah, kayak, like I said, if you come out, you might see us, or you might see all of our other guys out there. The kayak tournaments are always fun, especially the Tuesday nights. The Tuesday nights where I think everybody needs to start off at. and it's not an intimidating atmosphere. It's actually a very welcoming atmosphere. There's a lot of joking around. People don't rig their rods up until they get there. Okay, that's the other thing. That's how unprofessional it is, right? Because when you go to Oklahoma kayak anglers, man, you get there, everybody's ready to rock and roll, right? Everything's ready to go. Um, Tuesday nights, you get there. I usually get there fairly early. I get off at 4. Tournament doesn't start until 6. I usually get to where we need to go by about 5. And, I spend like 30 minutes rigging the rods. I'm still rigging rods as the tournament is about to start. So for the most part, I'll rig up 1 or 2, and that's as much time as I have in like 15 minutes. And then if I have to switch online, that's when I do it. That's what I mean. The hybrid do all of our rigging. So if you see us out there, yeah, if you want, come talk, come by, and we don't bite. We'll be more than happy to help you out, or even give you tips if you need tips for that specific day. So yeah, Tuesday night's probably the easiest way to win with Senko. And that's it. Like I said, the thing is, your mindset needs to be, I need to cover water. And once I get bit, I sit and I fan cast everything 3 or 4 times. Okay, that's the mindset you need to go into. Okay, so that's what we figured out. So when you first start out Senko fishing, you gotta fish it real fast. You gotta go fast because that lure is so slow. You will probably fish a 100-yard stretch in an hour if you're fishing the Senko the way you're supposed to fish Senko. But you can't do it. You can't do it. It's gonna kill your speed. You're not going fast enough. Take the Senko, and you're only gonna cast a Senko. Like, okay, so when you're going out, you're looking at the bank, right? Every say like 15 to 20 yards, pick the best target in that area, make the cast to it, and that's it. The best target. I mean, there's like a little tree, cast to that. If there's a little open area, cast to that. If there's grass and there's a crack in the grass, cast to that. Okay, so you have to train your eyes. That's what I'm trying to get to all the new guys. You got to train your eyes to look at the differences. Not what's the beauty there, whatever looks beautiful. No, no, no. You want to look at what's different. So if you see like a whole line of tulips, and all of a sudden you see a rose, that's it right there. That's where you need those to go. If you look at an entire like wall of rocks, right? And they're all big rocks. They're all stacked really close to each other, right? Like that and that and that. And all of a sudden you get a spot that opens up a little bit. That's the spot. Okay, so you have to start looking at the oddballs or the abnormal spots. You could have a big grass flat. All of a sudden there's like a dark spot. And once again, this is why I want you to get a kayak that you can stand up on. So you see a dark spot, that's the spot you need to cast to. Or if you go and the back of the pocket is just, it just rained and it's just like mud everywhere, but there's a dark spot over there because that dark spot's a stump. You don't know it yet, but it's a stump. So you're gonna fire that Senko out there. Fire that Senko out there, and you're gonna fish that dark spot. That's what you gotta do. If you got a pocket and there's one little tree in the middle of nowhere, that's the spot. That's the spot you gotta go to. All right. And don't be discouraged. You're gonna see a bunch of these spots. There's gonna be no fish around it, right? But you gotta understand the fish during the springtime tend to group in packs. So when you go fish a good spot that looks real good, meets all your checklist, mentality checklist, and there's nothing there, that's just because they're not there. Okay, if they're there, they're gonna bite the Senko. Okay, so move, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Fish behind people. It's okay. This is a time of year where it's okay to fish behind people, run into people. It doesn't matter because fish are moving in and out. Like 5 minutes later, they might be in. 5 minutes later, they might be out. You have to think about it like that. So as long as you give that spot 10-minute rest before you roll up in there, it's perfectly fine. And you don't even know. Maybe the guy that went in there before you, he probably spooked them all, right? So now they're just coming back. When you go in there, you just gotta sneak your way in there and make that cast. Just make that cast. You'll be surprised. You'll be very surprised. I fished a tournament where this is a tournament from about 2 years ago, where there's this creek arm. At least 10 guys have gone through it already. At least 10 guys. And then I see my buddy 2 come by, and he's like, I ain't got nothing, right? So I'm like, hey, I caught 2 on Senko. You know what you caught 2 on Senko? What color? I was like, green pumpkin. Green pumpkin magic, actually. So this is the one with it's a green pumpkin. It's got a bunch of flakes of golds, purples, everything. I picked the shiniest green pumpkin. So I tell him that he goes in that creek, right? He goes in because he ain't got nothing. I've already got 3 at the time. So he goes in, he's like, he comes back out, he goes, I caught 2. And I was like, what'd you catch him on? What you told me, the Senko. I was like, God damn, freaking Senko. So all right, so I go back to Senko. I catch another one, and then I do a power drop shot, David Chang, and catch another one. I caught 4, needed 5. But even with 4 fish, I think I came in the top 10. I think I came in like 9th place. I had the 5th fish on and came loose. Senko. It was on the Senko also. So yeah, look into it. Look into Senko, man. Senko. 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 It's a worm. It's a worm. When you throw it, and you throw it weightless, it just kind of does this weird wobble shimmy. It falls to the ground. That's all it does. It's the most useless lure out there, and it catches the most amount of fish. Like in the history of fishing, if there's a such thing, Senkos are probably going to be like ranked number 1 for all time. Yeah, because everybody throws a Senko. All the pros throw Senkos. They just don't want to tell you because, well, I say Senko, but throw that worm, right? That worm that just doesn't, it falls and wobbles. Every single pro throws it. Every single pro throws it during the springtime. Okay? So don't be ashamed if you're throwing Senkos. Some of the best touring professionals, I'm talking bass boat stuff, right? Some of the best guys make a career out of throwing Senkos and shaky hands, okay? So once you learn it, do not put it down during that time of year. It's just so hard to beat. And they'll bite it multiple times too. So tournament, I remember a tournament I actually won, right? Fishing, like I said, this is Shell Lake too for most of the guys that I actually have the video on this. It's already out. It's been 2 years now, 3 years now. So I'm fishing. I usually fish from the dam all the way upriver, right? All the way up lake, and I start there and I just go. Eventually, I figure eventually I'll run it off. So I start the dam and I'm gone. I don't know 100 yards, not a single bite, right? And then I get to this one spot. I've never caught a fish on that spot before. Like never. I get there and some thumps it the Senko real hard, and then I see a little like turtle kind of surface right, kind of where my Senko got bit. So I kept thinking like, oh no, that's just a turtle, turtle trying to bite my Senko, right? So I just kind of fished past it real quick, get to the back of the pocket, I catch like a 10-incher on Senko. Then I make my run back out and get to the one area. And I throw up in there. I don't even know how these fish got off. I throw up in there. And this is the Senko bite. You throw up in there, right? Some throw up in the brush. And then as the Senko is kind of falling, this is muddy water too. You can't see 6 inches of water. I'm only like 3 foot of water. So you throw your Senko out there, and then the Senko, the line, you got to watch the line. Senko fishing is all about watching the line. Okay, so it's either the line's going to go jump, or the line is going to run off. Okay. Most of the time, during the springtime, it just runs off. Like you'll never feel a thunk. It just kind of runs off. Okay. And I set the hook hard on this guy, and I don't know how. I missed 3 big fish from the wake that the tail kicked off in like a foot, 2 foot of water. I was a big fish. I'm talking 20-inch plus, right? That category of fish, because I felt the weight of that fish too. It was a big one. Missed one, missed another one. I'm just over there like, oh my gosh, freaking just lost the tournament, right? So I'm throwing it in there. I'm going to let you have it for a longer time, right? Because the first one, as soon as I saw the line move, I swung, missed. So now I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the longest 5 seconds of your life, I'm telling you. 5. Now leaning on, all right, 17-incher. Caught a 17-incher. Did pretty good. On that lake, that on Shell Lake, a 17 is really, really hard to catch. Like, that's usually a big bass tournament for the little jackpots, okay? So, like, boom, 17, I already got like a 10, right? So I'm like, all right. Then in my mind, I'm just like, what the heck? And then the light bulbs turn on. You're like, oh my gosh, there has to be like at least 5 beds around here, like bedding fish, right? Like right here, right? Now I'm already power pole down, right? So hence power pole. Like they're right here, like within casting range, 20 yards right in front of me, and like 3 foot or less. I can't see them. It's so muddy, I can't see them, but I know they're there. So okay, so now that you know they're there, you literally cast everywhere, over and over and over again, over and over. I did that for about a solid 30 minutes. Right? They stopped by. I think I think I might have spooked them off or something. So I'm like, you know what? Well, put it this way. I didn't spook them off. There was another angler that was fishing the jackpot area with me, little pocket area with me, and he didn't have power poles, and he just the wind blew him, so he floated right over where I was fishing. And I already told him, look, do not come here. Let's share this area. There's a lot of big fish right here. There's a lot of big fish right here. I told him, I started yelling at him. There's a lot of big fish right here. Do not come here. And I don't know what happened. He was kind of deaf too or something. So he just kind of floated through my bedding area, right? So it was done. So I was like, all right, it's time. It's gotta go. We gotta go. So I'm thinking, okay, I gotta go waste time so I could come back, right? This is an hour into a 2 hour tournament, so I still got an hour, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, hold on. If they're willing to bite the Senko, we need to go back to that first bite where I thought it was a turtle, right? So pedal back. I'm just like, okay, I need to really take this Senko a little more serious. So I go back and I fan cast that area real tight, catch I think it was like a 15. Yeah. So now I got a limit. Now, right? So I catch like a 10, a 17, a 15. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. For hard tournaments, that's pretty good, especially on the lake. So I'm just fan casting. And this is sometimes you'll get this bite. I threw it up near some trees that was kind of in the water. It was kind of floating it back. It kind of twitching the worm a little bit. Then you hear like a tick on the line, and I swing on it, and it was big. It was a big fish. At first, I thought I got stuck on some branches or something in the water, and I just kept on reeling it. And when you reel, the branch is moving towards you, that's a big fish. That's a big fish. The big fish, this is the difference between a small bite and a big bite, okay? Big bite is either going to thump it real hard, or when you hook into them, they immediately run to open water. Immediately. They don't mess around. They just go open water. Like torpedo open water. Okay. That's a big bass, open water. Okay. So luckily for me, I was on 30-pound braid and 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. So I knew I was gonna break. There's no way I could have broken this fish off. So I'm just kind of real fast. He gets to the boat, he digs real hard, and he pulls a lot of drag. And then eventually I get it to circle around, and it was a football, like a fat female. I think it was like 19 and a half inches, something like that. So I net that, and I'm just like, holy crap, I think I just won this tournament. I think I just won like a 19, a 17, and a 15. Because the 19 just called off that 10, right? So now we're doing good. We're looking real good, right? So I'm like, all right, so I still got like 30 minutes left. In that spot, my good spot that guy floated off or floated through, I need to go back to that spot. I do need to go back to that spot. So I'm thinking of time management, right? As a tournament angler, you have to time manage. So I'm thinking, all right, so it's going to take about 5 minutes to paddle back because it's a fairly close spot. We have to check in on time, or otherwise you're DQ. Oh yeah, remember that. You're a new guy, keep track of time. You have to check in on time, otherwise it doesn't matter what you got. So in my mind, it's like, okay, if I fast pedal, I could make it back in 5 minutes tops. But I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes because I might win this thing, right? So So I think check-in was at 8:15. So I'm thinking, all right, 8 o'clock at the latest, you gotta go, right? So currently it was like 7:30, something like that. So I basically go all the way back to that bedding area, and I'm just thinking, all right, before I even get there, I'm making long casts, like as long as I can, 20, 20, 30 yard casts with a Senko, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm just gonna fan cast this whole area, and I'll catch it, right? So I get back there and I catch. I don't even catch anything actually. From my recollection, I got a bite, but I never hooked it. I don't know why I never hooked it, but I never did, and I was just basically sitting there the whole time thinking like, what happened to those two big ones? Like, what happened to them? Like, what happened to them? This is one of those moments where you're just like, I almost didn't care about the tournament, if I won the tournament or not. I was thinking, I just want to see what kind of fish that was. That was a big fish that came off, you know? So, uh, long story short, stayed there, 8 o'clock hits, and I hightail it back. Hightail it back to the check in area, and then I get there, and then everyone's like, How'd you do? How'd you do? How'd you do? And I was like, I did pretty good. I did pretty good. I did all right. Yeah, I did all right. I caught a 19, a 17, and 15. And a bunch of other guys caught limits too. But you gotta understand that lake is that lake's known for small fish. Okay, so like a 17 was already like a good fish. I think the average size of that lake that we usually catch is 14s and 13s. So I got a 15, I got a 17, anchored by 19. So I still don't think I won big bass that day though. I can't remember for sure, but I thought I did not win big bass, but I won the tournament, which was pretty cool. Fishing Senko like that whole day was Senko all day. I threw all these other baits and they didn't want it. Typically that time of year, I throw a frog, a topwater, just because if I know I get smoked on topwater, it's a big fish, so you take that chance. Topwater, I threw a swim jig, nothing. I threw a big square bill, nothing. I threw a chatterbait, nothing. I threw a fluke a little bit too, nothing. But they wanted that Senko. I don't know what it was, but man, it was just they wanted that Senko. And even though I told you guys the green pumpkin or a black, this is before I even started using black. Okay, so before I even started using straight black, I was on the green pumpkin in muddy waters, which is a big no-no because the green pumpkin gets lost easily in muddy water. So if you're in muddy water, straight black or a hot pink or some like really really high contrast. Hey, how do you rate your Cinco? Wacky? Yeah, Cinco is always wacky. I never Texas rig my Cincos. I just don't do it. I feel like when you Texas rig a Cinco, it kind of defeats the purpose of having a Cinco. Like that wave action that it gives off, it kind of goes just like one end is real flat and the other end kind of wobbles too. But you lose like 80% of the action. It feels like. So I never Texas rig. It's always wacky, right through the middle. Uh, if you want to save some money, then actually get the O-ring system, the wacky O-ring tool, and the wacky O-rings. Put two O-rings on it, and then the hook goes right between the O-rings. Because the O-rings, they're O-rings, but they're installed like that, right? So you hook between the O-rings on X, and it actually keeps the hook like like this, which is what you want. If you have your hook like this to the worm, here's an actual tip. Here's a worm. If your hook is like this, well, actually like this, right? Like in line, you're gonna miss a lot of fish. You're gonna miss a lot of fish. You want the hook perpendicular to the Senko. So your Senko hook is perpendicular. Like thank me later, okay? Because something as small as that will get you from about 60% hookup ratio to like 99. Okay, so that's how big of a difference it is. And throw a big hook. Okay, that's the other thing too. Uh, I hear too many people talking about like these size ones, size two hooks. Man, I throw a 2-aught. That's a giant hook on the standard Senko, like a 4 1/4 inch, 4 3/4, I think Senko, or 5 inch Senko. It's real small. It's like this big. It's like the size of a pin. But you got a gaff. I mean, the hook is like my hook is pretty good at size. It's almost like that. It's almost like that. It's almost like that. Okay, you see how big that hook is? It's almost like that. It's a 2-aught. So I feel like during the spring spawn, it doesn't matter. The presentation doesn't matter. The reason why is they're not looking to see if it's food. They're looking to pick it up and throw it away. It's a different mindset. Like you have to kind of think about that too, right? So it's a different mindset altogether. Going from a hunger bite to a defensive bite. If it's hunger bite, it might make sure it's food before it picks it up. If it's a defensive bite, anything that looks weird in its area is going to pick up. Okay, it doesn't matter what color it is; it just has to find it, picks it up, throws it away. Okay. David, if you only run 6-pound fluorocarbon and a size 2 hook, you better be fishing in a lake that has zero vegetation and a bunch of pebble rocks. Because if you come to Oklahoma, you fish on the lakes we fish, 6 pounds snap like that. I've tried it. I've tried it with 10. It snaps. It snaps. It snaps. Especially during the spawn. If you catch those little fish, it doesn't matter. If you catch anything less than 15 inches, you're perfectly fine. But if you get that 8-pounder on there, done. It's done. It's literally that fast. You don't even have the reaction time to adjust, like mentally adjust to what's going on. Before you know it, like I say, when you set the hook, he gets it, he just torpedoes to open water. Anything in its path, it's gonna hang up on and just cut you like that. It's happened to me too many times. Too many times. That's why I can say I'm on. Even though I told you guys spinning setup, I'm on a bait caster, right? So on a bait caster, 30-pound braid and 20-pound fluorocarbon. And that's all I throw, okay? And when I tell people this, they think I'm crazy. But tell you what, with a 98% land ratio, ain't so crazy. Ain't so crazy, I'm telling you. Ain't so crazy. When we get those 20 to 23, 24-inch bass on, you really want to fight that on 10-pound line, or you can fight that on 30-pound braid? You tell me, And some of the lakes we fish, there's a lot of standing timber. There's a lot of like hydrilla, milfoil. If he gets he goes into that stuff. It's done. I'm even afraid on 30-pound, it might not get him back. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've caught big fish during the spawn in holes in grass where you go and you flip a Senko in there and it ticks it and you set the hook and you can't even bring him out of the hole. You set the hook and he just goes. And between you, the fish, and where he jumps, because there's a hole in the grass, you pitch it in the grass, he takes it. It was like a canopy, right? He takes off and then he jumps. Say like 15 yards out, he jumps. Your line is not going towards the fish. Your line is going in the grass, under the grass, to the fish. Okay? Happened more than 5 times. Okay? So it's not a theory. It actually happens. And those are the fish that matters, okay? Those are the fish that you dream of, that you'll catch during tournaments. And when you don't have the proper equipment, you're just going to break your heart. That's why a 15-pound line is a real good starting point for a spinner rod. It's much more forgiving. And if it's your first time, that's what I recommend too. Because all these other bigger lines, it's just going to make your life harder. And if you don't have the experience kind of behind it, then you need the experience behind it to properly handle it. If you don't have the experience in it, it'll actually hurt you more than help you. Okay? Natural Weekend Warrior Apache Oklahoma says natural colors is how I fish. I don't play with any fancy stuff. Well, you probably should. You should during the spawn. This is the only time of the year where crazy colors will matter. Give you a great example, right? Yeah, so, and I mean, it's still kind of natural, but it's like a modified natural. Okay, so during the spawn, right? Let's just take a little side step, okay? Because there's another thing I like to do during the spawns. I like to throw a swim jig, right? Swim jig. I think everybody knows what a swim jig is, right? Basically, it's basically a jig, kind of like this, but it's designed to, instead of crawl on the bottom, it's designed to like fish mid depth in the water. Some people fish real fast, right? So I like to throw a bluegill swim jig. This is sometimes something that no one really talks about because it's the money maker, right? It's the money maker. Because during the spawn, bluegills they're always being chased by the bass. They don't always bite them, but they like just chase them to get them away from the bed, right? So in a world filled with bluegills, think of it like this, right? This is where I think the A's separate themselves from the B's, right? You're on the right track, but this one tip will make it better for you. Okay, it's even like this. In a clear lake, you can see all the bluegills, all of them. Especially if you got a power pole, your power pole down or anchor down, just watch the fish, right? And I've actually done this too. You're watching the bass chase all these bluegills around, right? Some of them are real bright, some of them are kind of dull, very natural. Some of them are kind of like that orange color kind of feel, and then you get the ones that are like got that like blue tint on the fins, and then you got the ones that's got that chartreuse tail, right? The real bright chartreuse tail. But usually that doesn't happen until the bluegill spawn, right? During the bass spawn, it feels like they're still kind of that light orange kind of color. But what you want to do is the bass know chartreuse is bluegill. So what you want to do is on your swim jig that you've custom trimmed that, to look like a bluegill with a little swim bait on it, you take the tail, you dip it in chartreuse. You want the brightest chartreuse you can get to, the brightest one. You might even take an orange permanent marker, or go steal your wife or girlfriend's nail polish, the orange one if they have orange. Otherwise, go to Walmart, pay like $2, get some orange nail polish, and just paint the head. Paint the head of the jig. Okay, so now we're playing. They're still natural colors, but they're at that extreme point, right? So when the bass is in the water trying to defend nets, right? There's like 4 bluegills on that side, 5 bluegills on this side. He's trying to like keep them at bay. When your swim jig swims by, it is a blaring target for him to come and hit. Okay, think of it like that, and you might implement crazy colors specifically during the spawn. Okay, so I've done magical work that I would consider magical work during that time of year, and I've told Hybrid Killer about this, and he pretty much agrees too. That chartreuse tail, for some reason, that chartreuse tail kind of waving at them gets them so mad they come up and they'll just bite the green tail. I use packs and packs of swim baits because they'll just bite the green tail. If you throw something in there without a green tail, they won't even chase it. When you put something in there with a green tail wiggling, they'll chase it and they'll bite it. And they'll bite it 3-4 times, and then on the 4th or 5th bite, they will crush the entire thing. Like they will kill it. Before they're just nipping at it, but now they'll kill it, they'll crush it. If they crush it, boy, you got a big old hook on there, right? Boy, you got a big old 4-aught hook. Got that 4-aught hook on there, that's a lot bigger than that Senko hook, I'm telling you. And that's when you're on that 65 braid. Let them have it, let them have it. So there's a lot of things like that. That's also the thing that makes fishing so exciting because it allows you to be very creative. And there's a lot of like stuff you can read on the internet, and there's a lot of stuff that like the stuff I just told you, right? No one talks about that, but it makes a lot of sense if you just sit back, like take your favorite items and just make them a little bit better, right? Just make it a little bit better, the pops a little better. And on top of that, we're in Oklahoma, so a natural color in stained to muddy water is hard to detect. Like I feel like the bass can use lateral lines to find it, but if he can use lateral and he can freaking visually see it, oh man, make his life easy, make your life easy. Like come on, let's do it. So even some people like with the chartreuse dyes, right? Take the same exact Senko you usually throw, dip both ends, like quarter inch, chartreuse. So think about it now when your sequence falling, instead of like you see a worm doing this, it's like two beacons, like two bright beacons on the ends. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, this is like think about it like an airstrip, right? Like a jet's gonna land on it. It's got the red beacons on the ends. It looks like that now. It's like, yeah, come on, come on, it's gotta work. Oh yeah, the jig. That's actually a pretty good question. Somebody talking about the jig on this. This jig has not been trimmed at all. It's just out of the pack. It's one of those jigs that I got from Fishing Tournament. I think it's 405 jigs, local guys. Pretty good jig, hand tied and everything, but I haven't modified it yet. You never fish a jig. Never fish a jig like this. It's just we need to do a jig video. Okay, I'll show you guys how to trim it and how I like to trim it. The jig is not. It's not my favorite thing to do. It's not until I need a big bite. Until when I need a big bite, I go to the jig. Okay, and like I said, jig is on my list of like top 10. The jig is not on there. It's not my favorite thing to do. I hate it actually. I'll throw a big 10-inch worm before I throw a jig, but when I need a big bite, like if I need an 18-inch plus bite, say like I'm in the situation where I'm fishing a tournament, it's like 2 hours left, and I get that feeling, get that feeling that if you get one more big bite, like one more 18-inch plus, you're gonna win this tournament, right? And you got 2 hours to do it. 2 hours, one bite, but it's gotta be a big one. I go to the jig. Okay, so that's what happened on Broken Bow back in 2019. Uh, Fishing Ned rigs and fishing jerk baits, crankbaits, all those stuff, right? I was catching them. Like the first 2 hours, I didn't catch anything. And then I caught them real good. And then I was just like, I'm not going to win if I keep catching like 14, 15 inches. I need 16, 17, 18 inches. So, I abandoned my entire day's plan. And basically, that tournament, you should log your fishing and it's live scoring, right? So I knew exactly where I was at. The leader was at 84. I was at 78 and change, and I was in 14th place. And all the fish I was catching, they were all like, they would call me like a quarter inch at a time, right? Quarter inch here, quarter inch there. I'm like, no. I gotta be calling inches, not quarter inches. So long story short, all the stuff that was like coming to fruition, right? All the stuff that was kind of happening wasn't happening big enough. Like it was a charity event, winner take all kind of feel, right? So it's either first or last kind of feeling. So you have to put yourself in a situation where you're like, I gotta catch some bigs, right? I gotta catch bigs or these 14 inches, 15 inches. Cool story, bro. You didn't win, right? So basically, I get to this one island, which I had passed before on the way to my spot. On the way back, somebody caught a big fish, right? I don't know who this guy was. Can't remember who he was. He was about 100, 150 yards out. I could just see him. He was holding up a big bass, right? Holding up a big bass. I think he was throwing a spinnerbait, from my guess. But shoot, spinnerbait's even worse for me. I hate spinnerbait even more. I hate the jig. So I'm thinking, all right, well, he's fishing some wind-blown points, right? So I go to the next wind-blown point. I already had a finesse jig tied on, and I was just like, finesse jig out, full-size jig in, right? Full-size jig comes in, and I throw it up on this bank, and 3 casts in, I catch a 17. I'm just like, got him, right? Like, I think I figured it out, right? And then, a couple casts more in, another 15 or 16 or something, and I'm just like, come on, guys, I need that magic bite. And then I throw one, like, right on the bank. I'm talking, like, right on the bank, like a foot off the bank. Steep bank, but still hit right on the bank, right? I drag it, like, 2 feet. I got bump, and I was just like, that's the bite. Because all the other bites were like, peck, peck, peck. This one was like, thump. I was just like, all right, let me have it. Bam! And the next thing I knew, this thing just came and jumped, and it was just like, oh, crap. It's about to happen, right? So I get into the boat, I net it. I knew it was big, but it was only like a 19 though. And I was like, man, I need a 20. So, but regardless, like everything that you kind of want just happened, right? It's just you didn't catch 20s, you only caught teeners, like big teeners, you know. So I fished it real hard, fished a jig real hard for the next hour, and I did not get another 20, which our buddy Mike won, caught a 19 and a 20. If I had caught 19 and a 20, it would have been really, really, really interesting. But I didn't, right? So that's the only time I actually resorted to a jig. And I still do it on that lake too. You know, if I go back to that lake, I do have a jig tied on, but it's not my first choice. I'm a power fisherman. I do other things. Uh, let's see. Yeah, New Kong Fishing. You guys are from North Carolina. You guys are beasts. These guys are. If you guys are not following these guys, go follow them too. These guys had a little bit of influence, man. A little bit of influence on our fishing. These guys, they're real good. Put it that way, they're real good. Yeah, Jigs do very well. Okay, David. They do very well. They won a couple. They won me a kayak. Okay, that's how good they do. But like I said, the jig is still like not my favorite big bass lure. Of course, it's gonna be like a different video for another day. But my favorite big bass lure is actually a brush hog, a full size zoom brush hog, half ounce, throw and drag, man. I'm telling you that thing is old, right? Everybody knows about it, and everybody kind of forgot about it. Man, that thing catches big. Something that thing catches big. A full size. Not the mega size, but you know, there's like four sizes now from Zoom, right? And once again, you know, the little legs, appendages, just dip them in blue, not chartreuse, but blue. Dip them in blue. And blue garlic, which is I don't know what it is, man. It's just so deadly. I want so much money doing that. I won the Oklahoma Kayak Anglers. No, the OKC Championship was won with that. The big bass, not the big bass, the second and third biggest bass of my stringer came off of that, and then a big worm, and then the big bass of the tournament came on a little Strike King 1.0 like square bills like this big, caught a 20-inch bass, 20. I think it's a 27.5, 23 quarters. Pretty crazy. But that was a good time, man. A lot of those lures fall time fishing. But yeah, my big bass, if it's grass, it's a chatterbait or a big topwater. Frogs puts out them biggins, man. Frogs, they just do. Yeah, you know the thing about okay, so we got people talking about like JDM lures and not JDM lures, right? So I went through a phase, right? This is a good tip for all the new guys, right? You should pick your lures based on their actions, not on their prices. Okay, I say that because there's a lot of stuff, especially in the fishing world, right? Even though, so say the Senko has been working so good past 20 years, undoubtedly Senko has been king in the spawn, but then someone has to reinvent something that looks like a Senko, but it's probably got some appendages or something like that, right? But it's still in the Senko category, right? So to me, whatever's the king of that category, I just go with that. And I pretty much standardize on that. Okay. Because if you really look at it, like the whole Yamamoto lineup, I don't even know how many worms there are. There's like a swimming worm, there's a Senko cut tail, all these other like weird things. Like I don't know. I just focus on this works. Bam, done. Or if I do something to it, then I shift a little bit off of that, then that's it. I try not to experiment too much with like new stuff. Now, techniques is a different story, but when it comes to lures and baits, I try not to do too many things. Especially if you're not a tournament angler, then yeah, go ahead and do it. It's actually pretty fun. But if you're a tournament angler, you You can't do that because as with a new lure coming in, you need to figure out where this lure fits in your lineup, right? So you'd say like a crankbait. Crankbait fits standing timber, shallow grass, deep rock, standing timber, brush piles. It fits all that, right? So you're like, all right, I got something to do that. So this new lure comes out, and it might only fit, say, clear water, right? But my tackle box has lures that will work in clear water and stained water, right? So now I can't take this new thing because I literally don't have enough space in my tackle box. Okay, as a tournament, we pack a lot of tackle, and we have to have things that can do multiple things. Multiple things. I hope that helps. But don't get me wrong. There's a couple of lures that you guys have seen in the videos where if it fits a certain description, we will bring that lure out. But for the most part, if it's a tournament situation, we have to resort back to the more conventional lures just because they're more versatile. They're more versatile, you can do a lot more with them. But a random lure, right? A random lure that we really like, it's also a top lure, okay, is the Livingston. It's a company name called Livingston. They make that electronic. The basic, you guys know what the hydrowave is. Take hydrowave and put it in every single lure. It makes a audible sound, like a sound it clicks or it sounds like fish, right? But look it up. It's actually a pretty cool lure. It was designed by what's his name, Randy Howell, right? Randy Howell designed this one, and for what reason it's not taking off, I have no idea. So it's a really good lure. So it's a big lure too. It's like a 5.5 inch lure, 6 inch lure. But it's a body that breaks. It's a two piece, and it's got a lip on it. It's got a jitterbug lip on it. So it's a big lure. You can fit 3 number 2 hooks on it. It's a top water, and you don't even work it. It's a chuck wine bait. If you work it, it's even more aggressive. Okay, so this thing is called a Walking Boss 2. It's like $14, but man, this thing flat out catches them. Like during the spawn, this thing is so deadly. We throw it a lot, but like I said, once you get past that, then we don't throw too much. So it's very like during the summer, it's not a good lure because it's such a big profile, right? So that big profile only matches during the spawn. Like the bass, they don't like anything making a lot of noise, and the big profile makes it easy for them to find, especially in muddy water. So it fits that condition very very well. Once you get into the summer months, where bait tends to be smaller and everything, that lure kind of just goes away. Unless if you're trophy chasing, then that lure goes away. It really does go away. Yeah, when it comes to the Yamamoto, I just generally don't like them too much because they're not very disposable. Well, they're not very they don't hold themselves together very well. I mean, they work, but I'm kind of a cheapskate sometimes. I kind of need to budget my money a lot because you see all these rods over there. Yeah, the money is spread across the board. I can't spend too much money on certain baits. Uh, that's kind of how it is. But you know, I do spend for the lures that do work. I do spend big money on, and that's just like we have a big thing for Kitex swim baits. Pretty much don't run any other swim baits except Kitex. Period. You know, if it's a swim bait, it's a Kitex. If it's a jerk bait during a tournament, it's a Mega Bass Vision 110. How it is, you know. Let's see. What else do we throw that's pretty expensive? Oh yeah, top bar. Top bar is pretty expensive. Yeah, Mega Bass Top X, pretty expensive. But top bar you hardly ever lose them, so I'm okay with spending more money. Hmm. All right, out of 30. Yeah, Z-Man. I actually have to do an entire video on Z-Man. I've been using Z-Man for 2 years, probably 3 years now. Yeah, I've been on a Z-Man bandwagon for about 3 years now. Their stuff is Okay, I don't know why a lot more people are not talking about this stuff. Now, there's only one problem with the Z-Man. The Z-Man plastics cannot touch anything. If it touches anything, either one, it melts and glues itself to it, or two, it just does this weird like deform thing, and you can never get it back to its normal shape. And when you dip it in dye, it melts. Kind of weird, right? Unless if you freeze it. If you freeze the Z-Man plastic, then you dip it, it's good. Okay, so that's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, Z-Man. All of my chatterbaits, I run Z-Man razor shats. Don't worry about it. Even though I love the Kitex, I don't run Kitex. Like I feel like I'm too aggressive with my jackhammers. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Expensive lure jackhammer. Okay, jackhammer is $15.99. I probably got 300, $400 worth of jackhammers. That's just me. The past 4 or 5 years, I've only lost 3 of them ever. The thing is, they catch so much fish that hook just becomes so dull. You just have to retire them. Okay, that's it. I've retired. I don't know, 10, probably 10, or at least I give him to 47. The other teammate, and he goes and he striper fishes them, and that's it. Okay. Yeah, chatterbait jackhammers. Those are $15.99 piece. If you pair that with a Kitech on the back, that's now $17.99. Or you go Z-Man. Z-Man, one Z-Man trail is probably good for the entire day, or multiple trips for that matter. Yeah, man, that Z-Man jackhammer. Okay, so whew. Chatterbaits. Here's the thing, because since it is like a rookie show, right? Kind of introduce everybody rookies to tournament fishing. If there's grass, throw a chatterbait through it. I don't care how you reel it. It doesn't matter. You can throw it in there real fast. You can rip it. You can slow wind, stop. It don't matter. That chatterbait is just something, man. It's just something. Like it's just something else. Like it's got voodoo magic on it. That's all I gotta say. Because the bass, they can't stand that thing, man. I've caught on a single lure, right? I'm just talking 5 and 6 pounders. Chatterbait jackhammer rules them all, basically. All of them in grass too. It's crazy. And there's some moments in time where like, okay, there's one lake, right? Back of a pocket. There's coontail, underwater coontail, right? It's going about three, maybe 4 foot of water. Creek channel swings right on, right? And the creek channel has got grass and it goes like a little flat. And I'm just fishing basically the flat right next to the creek channel. And if you get up too close, though, they won't bite. So you're bombing chatterbaits like as far as you can go, right? 3/4 ounce and ½ ounce doesn't matter really too much. But I'm a big believer in the half. I don't know why the half gets bit more. But anyways, this place likes black and blue, right? It's a stained fishery, but they won't touch white. Okay, so when it comes to jackhammers, for the most part, a white body or a black and blue body. The green pumpkin body, for some reason, doesn't really matter too much. I might have a green pumpkin head and a black body, or just all like white chartreuse white body. That's it. Those are my 2 kilograms, right? So there's a lake I go to once in a while. I haven't been there in a while, but last year we used to fish it quite a bit. Go out there, black and blue, 3/8, bomb as far as you can go. And man, like it's almost a guarantee when you get to that lake. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It can be early in the morning. It can be early morning. It can be during the day. It can be. It doesn't matter. Like they're there. They're gonna bite a jacket. So I get there and I just bomb it. First cast, guarantee. Second cast, maybe. Third cast, fourth cast, fifth cast, bam, another one. And I wear them out. I mean, there's one trip where I was out there and I don't know. I must have caught 20 bass in 30 minutes. Jackhammer. Just a jackhammer. Dobbins. It was a Dobbins 7.4. It's a 6:3 ratio, 20-pound fluorocarbon, jackhammer all there. It's crazy, man. Like they didn't want anything else too. Like they didn't want a speed worm. I tried throwing a speed worm in there. I threw a Senko in there. Didn't want it. I threw a square bill up in there. They didn't bite it, but it was like really like, like do I have to bite this thing? You know, kind of feel. And then I threw a top water. I just let it sit over the grass. Nothing. I threw a frog. Nothing. I threw a rattle trap up in there. Nothing. But you throw a jackhammer, it's like, holy shit. For real? Okay, that's what you guys want? Dang, okay. Yeah. But Chatterbaits. You can do an entire video just on Chatterbaits and how simple. Oh, man. Do a video on how simple you can fish a chatterbait to how complicated you can make it. Okay, so the stealth blade might do pretty well. Stealth blade? I'm not sure because from okay, so now we got see this is where like we need to break this out in a whole different video, right? Chatterbait specific. To me, the stealth blade is kind of misplaced. It's kind of like it doesn't have a good identity as to what it is, right? So a chatterbait's supposed to be this loud, thumping, bait looking thing, and all of a sudden you have a silent chatterbait. It's like, why would you want a silent chatterbait? It doesn't make much sense. So if you're gonna throw a silent chatterbait, then shouldn't you just throw a swim jig or throw a swim bait or throw a finesse spinner bait and burn it? You know what I mean? So it's like you're not playing with your strengths here, right? So I don't have any. That's the logic that I have. That I have it. But check this out, right? With that being said, that big blade, you know what I'm talking about? The big blade chatterbait, the one that just came out, that was designed by Brian Thrift. That motherfucker look good. That's all I was saying. That was something look good, right? I got like 4 or 5 of them. I just can't find it. But yeah, the big blade. I think the big blade is going to work better than the small blade. And I'll tell you why. Spawn, right? You know, like during the spawn, I just figured this out. You need to throw a big buzz bait. Just check him out a big buzz bait. The louder, the better it gets. But a lot of times, like a buzz bait has to move so fast, right? So you take a half ounce, or I think he makes a 3/4. I'm not 3/4, 3/8 with a big blade. Throw it out there, just wake it. It should be an excellent wake bait. But instead of treble hooks on it, it's got a big old 5/0. I think it's a 5/0 mustad. Something crazy like that, right? But I'm just saying, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Do you think live scope, active target, or even mega plays a major role? Like, is it really game changer in the fishing industry? Well, I don't have one yet. I don't have one yet. I have a lot of guys around me that do. Has it changed their fishing game? Quick answer is no. There's only one guy I know of that basically lives and dies by his pan updates, right? And he's racked up pretty good money doing it too. Okay? Don't get me wrong. But he has also told me that he has also lost a lot of money because his eyes are so glued to the screen that he kind of loses track of time. Right? Kind of loses track of time, and then before you know it, 30 minutes has gone by, and you're still trying to work this fish, and this fish is not catchable. Right? The guys that sight fish know exactly what I'm talking about. When you come up on a bedding area where there's a lot of bass in it, you should be able to tell if that fish is catchable within the first 10 seconds. Like if you're good, you come up on an area, you see a bass roll off, you should be able to tell in 10 to 15 seconds if you can catch that bass in the next 30 minutes or not. If you can't, you cannot worry about that fish. You gotta go. You gotta keep going. That bass is not ready to be caught. Okay? So what Live Target does for you is I think half the people are not understanding how to properly use it. So say there's a big bass living next to a stump, right? You can see it. He knows a bass because carp don't live next to stone. It's a big bass, right? Say it's a 5-6 pounder. All right, so throw a Senko in there. You can literally see the Senko float next to him. He doesn't want it. He ain't hungry. Otherwise, he would have came and gotten it already. So why would you waste another cast of Senko? Put the Senko down. Next cast should be a spinnerbait. Cast it past the stump, bring it right next to the stump. Basically, you're trying to hit the bass with the spinnerbait. Okay. He doesn't even care. He just moves out of the way. Okay. All right. Put that down. Square bill right next to the stump, maybe 3-4 times, maybe just to get a good deflection and see if he'll bite it. You don't want it? Put it down. Throw an A-rig. Weed is A-rig. Throw an A-rig. Bring it right by. He don't want it. All right. Maybe he doesn't want to chase. Throw a drop shot in there, right? Power drop shot. Creature bait on it. 5 off flip hook. Throw it in there. Shake it right next to the stump the whole time. I would say give it 5 minutes. If he ain't gonna pick that up, you gotta go. You gotta go. He ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. I think more people lose tournaments doing this live scope thing than they'll actually win if they just go and search for the hungry fish, right? That's my point of view. But like I said, I've never used it before. So, but if I was, that's how I would use it. Okay, I would use it to learn the fish's behavior, see if he's catchable. If I throw something in there and I see him, see this is the advantage, right? You can see fish that you've never seen before. It's like sight fishing all the time, right? So when you're sight fishing, you need to see how fish react to your baits. So some fish, you throw a Senko over them, they'll bite it like easy. That's a dumb one. You done, right? There's other fish where you have to kind of play cat and mouse, but that's already after you've already decided you could catch this bass, right? So use the example of bed fishing, right? You roll up to a bed, right? You see a fish over there, and you throw the Senko at him, and he doesn't care you, and then you kind of get a little bit closer. And as you do, you see that bass kind of take off, right? Bass takes off, and he disappears. Like you don't know where he went. That fish is not catchable. It's not catchable. Don't worry about it. Don't maybe put a mental thing in your mind saying that there was a fish on a bed that wasn't catchable, and maybe circle back later in the afternoon and maybe he's now catchable. I don't know. You don't know. You can't worry about that one. You might circle back. Big might, right? But assuming that fish took off, he goes 20 yards, he stops, he turns right back, and starts staring at you. That's a catchable fish. I guarantee you catch a fish. That's a catchable fish. So basically, that feedback system is live scope. Okay, live scope gives you feedback. Just because you see the fish does not mean you catch him. It just gives you indication if you can catch them or not. And I don't think people are talking about that. See, that's the thing. People are not talking about that. So you might see an entire school of fish suspended. You can throw an A-ring in there. You can throw whatever. If they're not going to bite, they're not going to bite. The thing is, are you good enough to trigger them to bite? Meaning, are you going to throw a deep diving crankbait into open water, power reel as fast as you can so it literally dives and hits the school of fish, right? And get somebody to react. Are you that good to that level, to the point where you can use live scope to trigger an attack? And that's what you have to do. And then there's a lot of the good Panoptics guys, I'm sure, are doing this. They have to be. And if you're not at that level, then I think you're not going to use that live scope active target mega live to its full extent. Okay. There I said it. But yes, I am planning to get one. I just haven't money for it yet. Hey John, you're late, but yeah, lots of good things. You can rewatch it. It's no big deal. And the second part of the question, you think it's a game changer in the industry? I'll tell you when live scope is dangerous, right? Live scope is dangerous when you have schooling fish. Okay, especially in the situation where they're not always on the surface. Like every 15 minutes or so, they'll bust, and then they'll only bust for like 10 seconds, and then they're gone. You have to wait like 15 minutes again. But you know they're actively chasing. Okay, that's situation number one. That's hard to beat. Active target, those forward facing sonars, you can kind of follow the school, and at least you might not get it exactly where the school is at, but at least you'll be in the general area, which gives you a much better odds of getting bit than if you're just like randomly casting into places. Or heck, you're just standing there, like waiting for the schools to blow up so you can make a cast, right? So it's a big advantage on that end. The other advantage is pre-spawn. When the big females come in, this is talking bass, they come in, a lot of the females will suspend, right? They're like some people think they're trying to warm up their eggs or something. So in 10 foot of water, they might suspend 4 foot below the surface. They might. Lots of people have been telling me stories about that. That's why the jerkbait is a suspending jerkbait is so good in the pre-spawn because the bass not on the bottom. So if you're driving a jig, a swim bait, a rig, that people that like they roll the a rigs on the bottom, they've completely missed this fish. It's like mid depth, right? With a jerkbait, it only goes mid depth. So the fish, the jerkbait, eye and eye. So that's why the jerkbait gets bit. The jerkbait literally hovers there. And this big mama's kind of hungry, so she comes over, and the jerkbait is just sitting there and it twitches and gets smashed. It's just like that. So with live scoping, you can see that fish, right? And if the fish is just off like a hump or if it's suspended on something, most fish do not. Most open water fish, put it this way, most open water fish do not hang out by themselves most of the time. So if you're talking hybrids, you're talking stripers, white bass, crappies, they don't hang out by themselves in open water. There's always a group, right? So if you go in with a forward-facing sonar and you see a stump and there's just one giant blob there, what else can it be? It's got to be a largemouth, right? Or a smallmouth or something. So you've already kind of like put a lot of things in your favor, right? But wintertime, A-rigs, unarguable, forward-facing sonar A-rigs, done. Like wintertime is dominated by that. If you don't have that, it's going to be hard to win, okay? But, if you guys paid attention to the MLF circuit, the professional circuit, when they went to the St. Lawrence River, everybody had live scope. And live scope was worthless because there's one other thing, I don't know what it's called, but it's basically a traffic cone with like a clear like lens on the bottom, like clear plexiglass, where you can put it in the water and you can see. Okay, like they were doing this whole time, like looking in the water like that. Yeah, go back and rewind that, and you tell me how important live scope is, because that $3,000 unit that they have on the front of their boat, that wasn't even turned on. They went to whatever it was and they bought this $55. Like I said, it's a cone and it's got clear plexiglass on the bottom. So when you stick it in the water, there's absolutely no glare. Clear water, you can see exactly what the fish is doing. It's sight fishing 101. Get your spot lock, trolling motor spot lock. Look at the fish. Got him. That's basically how Jacob Wheeler won that tournament. I think that's what it was. Man, live scope is so awesome until that tournament that you're like, put all you guys back in check. Yeah, we do plan to get Mega Live. We're Hummingbird guys, so we got for the easy route would be Mega Live, right? And then there is a slight chance we might go Panoptics as well. Depending in March, there's going to be some news, I'm sure, during the Classic and things like that. There's a lot of technology that's revealed during that time of year. And I'm not in the mood to buy it right now because you can't even get one, really, the Mega Lives. So it's okay. Wait a couple months, see what everybody else is doing. I feel like if you're just looking forward-facing sonar, then Garmin's probably still got. They're the leader of the pack. They got it, but I don't like how their forward-facing's got a whole bunch of like weird like finger things coming off the like You know what I'm talking about. So there's like you see the object, but there's also this flashlight effect that goes out. It's kind of dumb. And then you go to Lowrance, which I feel is probably the best one. Okay, the active target, I feel like that's the best one. Hummingbird's way behind, but they're coming up real fast. And so, uh, I don't know. To get into that world, I think it's $1,500 just for the live, or if you go to Garmin, you got to get their sensor plus their unit, which you're looking 3,000 instead of 1,500. So it's big money, but open water fishing, it's hard to beat. But once you get to that like less than 3 foot of water, I almost feel like it's worthless. I feel like it's almost worthless. There's many situations that I feel is pretty good, like looking under docks and things like that to see if there's any fish down there. I feel like that might be all right, but same time, it's like that dock looks pretty good already. That's why you're over there. You don't have to. Like you're still trying to find the active fish, right? So just get whatever down there, throw a sinker in there. If you don't want it, well, throw it again. If you don't want it, I'm out. So there's still that. Like the hardcore fisherman still has a really really good shot at winning tournaments. Put it that way. Okay, so bass and sonar. All the shallow bass are already aware of sonar. Okay, so if you fish during the spawn, do not turn on the fish finder. Or if you do, turn the sonar off. Just keep the screen on so the GPS is on, right? Shallow bass knows what's up. The only reason why people are catching these big mega fish is these fish have never been targeted before. These are the fish that live like 99% of their lives offshore. So when they hear sonar, the sonar is like so far away, they probably don't hear. But by the time the sonar gets to them, they don't. I feel like they don't know what the sonar pinging is, so they're not afraid of it. Well, they're not as afraid of it, right? So that's why so many people were catching fish using forward-facing sonar. But eventually they'll all get used to it, and then once again they'll just be just like the shore bass, where you got to play that stealth game, and that world's gonna die off pretty soon because there's so many people doing it right now, and there's like limited amounts of fish, right, that are not afraid of this that sonar, because I'm sure it sounds pretty crazy because it's not like a tick 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 tick. It's like it's very fast. It has to be very very fast, possibly 10 times per second, maybe even more, maybe 20. Because if you think about the human eye, if our eye says if you don't refresh faster than 24 times per second, we see it as like a very choppy picture, right? Very choppy. But some of those units, they're pretty smooth. So if they're smooth, it's got to be above 24. The traditional sonar is still maybe 3 or 4 per second. So this one's like 27, 28, 30. Think about it as frames per second, right? Like a camera. They're clocking 30 frames per second. That's why these things take so much power, right? So, yeah, that's how it's live, live. Let's see. Favorite rod for the early season? It's a Senko rod. Oh, I have it on here. Oh, it's up there actually. But it's kind of a no name. We actually won that rod from a tournament too. But it's very like flexible. Yeah, flexible. Very flexible. It's a Kistler Magnesium 2. I think it's like a $200 rod, but they must have mislabeled that rod or something because they gave it away. And it's labeled as a medium heavy, but it's really like a medium, just medium, not medium heavy. But it's great when you throw Senkos. It flexes pretty crazy, so throw Senkos is awesome. But yeah, it's a 7 foot medium Kistler Magnesium 2. I think it's like I said, it's like a $200 rod. We wanted a drawing. And we pair it with a Daiwa Zillion. SVTW in a 9-gear ratio, 30-pound braid on it, flinging Senkos everywhere. It is so fast too, a 9 ratio. Fling it out there, let it sit 3-4 seconds. Again, it's so fast. That's the only way I can fish Senkos. So if it's early season, then that's it. If it's a jerk bait, then actually I don't know if it's up there either. It's only in the corner, but the jerk bait. I bought this IMX. Some guys are gonna hate me for saying this, but that's actually a really good rod. All around rod too. Okay, so it's not just jerk baits, but it's good for jerk baits, Ned rigs, shaking heads. Anything that's small, it's really good for. But it's a 6'8" jerk bait rod. It's actually labeled jerk bait. IMX from G Loomis. I paid $170 for it. I think at one time. I think the time the retail was about 260, give or take. Paired with a here's the other thing too. Okay, so that rod is pretty expensive, and it's also paired with a super expensive reel. Okay, it's a Daiwa Steez SVTW. It's a $500 reel that I bought for $400. Okay, and that setup runs all year round on 10-pound fluorocarbon or 12-pound fluorocarbon. That's it. That's all it ever does. So it does jerk baits. Maybe I might switch it out to 20-pound braided line if I'm throwing topwater, like a walking bait topwater. Other than that, we're throwing jerk baits, gay blades for white bass, small square bills. We're throwing fairly light stuff, fairly light stuff, early season. And then once the springtime hits, it kind of transitions like a Ned rig or a 2.8 high tech. I throw it on that a lot too. Chad Kundiff. Tips for breaking down a new body of water. We're actually going to do an entire special on that, but I'll let you know. Breaking down new water, right? And it could be any lake, right? Yeah, any lake. Rule number one, make a list. Rule number one, make a list of all your strengths. Number two, make a list of all your weaknesses, stuff that you don't like to do. Okay. And then pull up Google Maps, pull up every single topographic resource you can find, whether that's Navionics, whether that's C Maps, whether that's some USGS survey. Okay, pull up everything. Go to YouTube, type in the lake's name, watch as many videos as you can until you feel comfortable with what this lake is all about. Okay? All right. And then jump on Google Maps, get the Google program that allows you to time step. So you go back in time on the lake. Right? And then take the things you like to do and try to find places on that lake that you can do it on. Okay? If it works, you're gonna win that tournament. I guarantee you. It's that simple. If that formula works, if it works out that day, actually, you will win that tournament. And that's what this episode's all about: winning your first tournament. So yeah, because you take all the stuff you don't like and you don't think about it. Okay, you don't think about it. Don't pack it. Don't think about it. Unless if you're fishing national, if you're fishing like a big major tournament, then you might have to pack a couple. You primarily focus on the things you're good with and go find the areas that your techniques that you like to do should work in. Okay, and like the things you're good with, top three, right? Top three things you're good with. Like for me, I feel like, and it always starts off like this. So I feel like if there's a frog bite, I'm gonna win that tournament. If there's a chatterbait bite, I'm gonna win that tournament. If there's a crankbait bite or a big Texas rig bite, like those four, I have a real good shot at winning that tournament. Okay, so that's usually my strengths, and I look at that lake and I say, can my strengths play on that lake? And it's going to be a simple yes or no, right? If it's a yes, then you got to look at weather patterns after that. is the weather pattern conducive for me to throw these favorite things on that lake? If that's a yes too, all right, we're looking good. We're gonna win this tournament. You go into that tournament like like feeling good. But if it's I just gave you about four things, right? But if it's like a deep lake, rocky lake, and you're thinking now, all right, you gotta go throw a finesse swim bait, you gotta go throw a deep drop shot, you gotta drag a jig. Hey, yeah, damn, I don't like to do it, but if it is what it is, and I have to do it to win the tournament, then all right, I'll look for areas that have that. Okay, things I don't like to do. On top of that, pick an area that has a lot of options. That's what me and my brother always say to each other. Like, we'll break down a lake and we're like, all right, this area lays real good. I've actually fished it before. There's this one like drop off. It's really, really good. Every time I go there, I always get bit 3 times. But there's nothing else around it. There's nothing. There's no other options. So we usually don't go there during the tournament because the odds of that spot producing on tournament day is very slim. So unless you get there and this is like that magic day where you got 5 20-inch bass on there, you're gonna win and they're dumb and all that stuff. Never happens to tournament. Never happens. So you have to get into an area. It might not be the best looking area, but it has to be an area that offers a lot. So you might get an area that has like a spot to throw a crankbait, a spot to throw a chatterbait, a spot to throw a big Texas bait, and maybe way in the back of the pocket you can throw a frog. Okay, that's a good area for me, right? So, but you can be completely different. Like I know other guys that are like that are big. They don't power fish at all. So for them, it's like throwing shaky heads, throwing man rigs, and throwing a small swim bait, and maybe a top water like a popper or something like that. For those guys, their plan of attack is completely different from mine. It has to be because if you're going to follow my plan, you're not going to do very well. My plan is a lot of running around and hitting high-profile targets. That's it, for the most part. And then I might slow down and throw a Texas bait. But for the most part, I do a lot of moving around. I try to move a lot, unless if I'm on a spot where I feel that there's enough good quality fish there to last the entire tournament, then I'll stay. Other than that, if it doesn't constantly produce that good quality of fish, like at least one fish every hour, then I'm more than likely I'm going. I don't like to wait. Do you guys plan on doing any offshore videos? Yeah, for sure, this year. Walleyes, hybrid stripers. Like I said, this year, 2021, I keep saying this year, but last year, 2021, completely missed the hybrid spoonlight. Completely missed it because I was too into tournaments. Right, so we had this tournament on SkyTick, right? I actually won that tournament too. SkyTick tournament for bass, right? Or a kayak. I get out on this point. It was loaded. I mean, on the sonar, it looked exactly the way I dreamt it needs to look for me to have an excellent day hybrid fishing with a magnum spoon. There were so many down there that I felt like if I dropped a spoon down there, I would actually hit multiple fish on the way down. That's how many hybrids were stacked in one little area, right? But I was in the middle of a tournament, so I had to go win the tournament. So I went out there, I cast a spoon down there once, twice. I got nipped one time, and I was like, all right, that's it, scratch that itch, let's go back. Just kind of win this tournament. Went back, won that tournament, right? Came back a week and a half later and still wrecked him. Okay, like with a big spoon because I don't even nobody throwing a big spoon around here. I'm the only one throwing it. And then that bite, like I felt like I caught the tail end of it because when I got there, like a week and a half later, the schools weren't super packed anymore. They were kind of like scattered. They were all real scattered. Still caught them pretty good, but man, it just wasn't like it's your timing was just off. Like we missed that. We're definitely doing more of that this coming year, 2022. We got the big boat. We got the big trolling motor. If we got the live on it too, it'd probably even better. Decent kayak fish finder. Uh, it doesn't matter. I'll give you. It doesn't really matter what brand. Okay, so if you're, I'll give you some features you gotta have. Okay, put it that way. So that way you can go and pick which one you want. At least a 7-inch screen. At least a 7-inch screen. It has to have side imaging capabilities. The ones that shoot out to the side, right? Ultrasonic shoots out the side. That's a minimum. Okay, that was a luxury 10 years ago, but today's standard that's minimal. Okay, and GPS. It has to be able to. Uh, this is for yeah. Well, this is for everybody. Even though a lot of people talk about this, but I'm gonna let you guys know this little secret. It has to be able to connect to an external GPS unit. The external GPS version, the GPS is built into your fish finder. There's compass and no compass. So you want the compass feature. So when you're pulling up on a spot and you stop, your fish finder doesn't do all this weird shit with the map spinning around. It stays very focused. It tells you exactly how to make that next cast, whether you're off by 10 degrees or 50 degrees, right? So compass is very important. Not a lot of people talk about it. Do you fish early season hybrids? We do. We do. Last year we got into some pretty good hybrids early season. Like I was thinking like early March. I think it was early March. Yeah, early March. We caught them. They were already in the back of the pockets, right? So caught them pretty good. We had like 2 to 3 good videos out of them too, out of the big boat in 3 foot of water on a flat. Okay, so with a bunch of trees around. It's kind of weird. But yeah, caught them pretty good. Early spring hybrids. Caught them on spinnerbaits. Caught them on swim baits. Caught them on top water. Caught them on gay blade. Chartreuse gay blade. That sucker is sold out everywhere. We didn't make like a limited edition on those things or something because there's a like nobody carries the chartreuse gay blade. The cotton cordell gay blade is deadly on white bass and hybrids in Oklahoma. But there's only one shop that has it. It's called Nap Attack in Claremore. And every time I go there, I always check it. But every time I go there, if there's 10 of them, I always buy like 5 of them. So you can blame me, you can blame the other subscribers. They know about it too. I mean, it's one of those lures that just flat out catches them, man. Like there's no promotion needed. One of those things. All right. Personal best. Right there. See it? Right there. Largemouth? Right there. It's marked Cardarello. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but yeah. Biggest largemouth. I don't know. I didn't officially weigh it. That's a replica. It was 24 1/4 inches. I'm thinking high 9s, low 10 pounds. Right there. Just right there. Right around the area. Caught pre-spawn. Pre-spawn 2016. One of my first major tournaments on the Oklahoma kayak. It was caught a deep diving crankbait in red off of a point. And I thought I caught a hybrid because it was moving so fast. I thought it was a hybrid. I didn't know it was a big largemouth. So it's fighting it. It never jumped. I thought it was a hybrid until I got it right to the boat, and it wasn't white; it was green. So netted her and netted that fish, and it was crazy. 24 inches. That was pre-spawn, and then the other 24 was in Texas, November, in Texas on a 10-inch worm. Yeah, 10-inch worm. Fishing standing timber in Texas on Lake Fork. My first national championship too. I went to the Con 24. Pretty crazy, man. Pretty crazy. I was so psyched because I have maybe caught one fish that was 20 inches before that one. I caught one maybe that was 20. And then all of a sudden you just like, bam, 24, and then 21 and a half. And the following day it's 23 and three quarters, and another like 20 and a half. And that was Lake Fork in November. Freaking nuts, man. Lake Fork. Dang, John, you're the one that bought all the game plates? Yeah, one of my cousins freaking texted me like 3 weeks ago. He was like, "Who the heck bought all the game plates from Nap Attack?" And I went there looking for it, and all the guys on the counter was like, "Some Asian guy came in and bought them all." All right, guys, it's been fun. We're coming up on 2 hours already. So it's 9:24. So let's go to 9:30. So whatever questions you got, newbie questions or whatever, kayak questions preferably. But here to help, just help it out because I think the more information I give out, the better the anglers are going to be, the more challenging it's going to be. Uh, I think it's just more of a fun thing because I don't, me personally, in this moment in time, I'm not pursuing fishing, tournament fishing, as a career. So I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose. I understand. I think everybody who's really good at fishing understands that if you do something like the think of I'll use the spinnerbait as a great example, right? So 15 years ago, the spinnerbait was probably one of the most dominant lures, right? And then the chatterbait comes out, and then people stopped throwing the spinnerbait, right? Like the guys that are real good with spinnerbaits, they even went to chatterbaits. And then they just started realizing the chatterbait wasn't so good anymore, and they started like, wait, hold up, a regular bass, usually only lives say 5 years, right? The average bass will only have a lifespan about 5 years. But I haven't been fishing the spinnerbait in 5 years, so there's no way that 3 pounder or that 4 pounder has ever seen a spinnerbait before, especially the spinnerbaits that I throw because I'm the king of spinnerbaits, right? So they go out, all these old guys, they go out and they basically reintroduce the spinnerbait, right? And the spinnerbait has been fire in Oklahoma. It's crazy. It has been crazy. So if you understand trends, the bass follow trends too. It's just they don't actually follow it; they die, and then the new bass come up, and they've never seen that lure before. So in about 10 years, the chatterbait's probably going to be super hot again. I'm just saying, if it follows the trends, right? Because right now the spinnerbait's pretty hot. Yep, Bass Pro blade baits they work pretty good too. The thump on them is a little bit it's a little bit more thump 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 thump. Where the game blade's more like a fine. So depending on what day, yeah, pick the one that works for you. There's also another one. I tried a blade bait from China one time. It was only $1 a bait, but you got to buy 100 of them at a time. That one's got a real crazy thump. I actually won a tournament on that one. A Chinese blade. Believe that we from that day on we just call it the China blade. The China blade. I don't even know who makes it. It's a generic one. It's huge. It's like almost like 3 inches long, but it's got a crazy thump. I mean a crazy thump. But it's like a 3/4 ounce weight. It's pretty heavy. Do you change out the bearings on your reels? No point. So this is the thing about it, right? When I first started fishing, I did on my bait casters because I feel like you need them to cast far. But once I started doing it, it felt like I got more backlashes when I put the real fast bearings in them. Because in reality, unless you get like a really shitty reel, I mean a reel that's under $120, you might want to change out the bearings. But if it's already that $250 reel, nah, man, nah, bro, you good, you good. We just run it straight out of the pack. If you feel like your bearings are not up to speed, there's a bearing grease you just need to put in it, and it makes every single bearing twice as good. It's called a lightning bearing grease, and I swear, all the shitty reels, all the reels that are like $60 to $80, you put that grease on it, it seems like you upgraded bearings. You put it on your steez, holy moly, it's pretty fast. It like I can tell you, just don't save your money. Just go buy some grease. The grease will make it better. Yeah, because there's a bunch of like Shimano bearing oils, and it's actually called bearing oil. So there's Shimano, there's Lucas oil, there's a bunch of other ones, and then there's this lightning one. So the lightning one, I think it's from Boca Bearings, lightning oil. Freaking crazy. It will guarantee you will backlash it because it's that good. Uh, okay, Chad, that's a really good question. Okay, because I had this question myself when I was starting to fish. My first 2 years, I had this question quite a bit. When to go and when to stay, right? That's what the question is. If you feel confident in an area, you stay. If you don't, you go. Simple as that. It's your confidence, it's your gut feeling. You have to develop your gut feeling too. So if you're chasing like, okay, so put it this way. If you're in a tournament, you're fishing, right? You ain't got no fish yet. And that's the first bite you get, you have to stay, right? Because that's the only thing you got. You have to stay. But if you're there for an hour already and you've only got two small fish, there's no longer confidence. So you have to go. You have to leave. Now, if you're catching a good amount of fish and you know that quality of fish that you're catching is not going to allow you to win the tournament, you also have to leave also. Okay, so it's a hard question to ask. It's a gut feeling at the moment. You need to go and you need to stay. So there's moments in time where you know, like back in the jig thing, right? There's a point. It looks good. There should be big fish on it. You might stay an hour, 2 hours. You'll probably get 2 to 3 bites. You probably will, right? But those bites better allow you to win that tournament. If it doesn't, I'm out. I'm already out. Right? I'm out. Okay. So it's a gut feeling type thing, and it gets to the point where it gets really crazy sometimes. So sometimes I do feel that I've left fish behind in order to go find new fish, right? Uh, but there's also times where you should not leave those fish to go find other fish. Like if you roll up into an area and you know it's a hard day of fishing and you get those 3 bites already, try to stay in the general area. Move off that rock or rock pile, but try to stay in the general area. Fish slow. Do what you got to do, right? But if it's one of those like, say it's a hard day of fishing, right? Bluebird days, and you're just Ned rigging, you might want to stay. If it's one of those days where it's just like perfect conditions, 5 mile per hour wind, overcast skies, looks like it's gonna rain, I don't usually stick around very long. I usually, I switch out lures real fast. So, in my opinion, 3 good casts, 3 very confident casts with a single lure. If they're gonna bite it, they would have bit it already. Right? So you have like 3 good casts with a jig, no bites, switch it out. 3 good casts with a crankbait, nothing. 3 good casts, maybe with a top water, nothing. 3 good casts with a shaky head, nothing. I'm out. I have no more confidence in the area. I'm out. Okay, so that's something you have to develop. Everybody goes through a way they do that, and everybody ends up getting to somewhere where they're confident with leaving your state. Now, if you're confident in an area, you can leave or you should leave, but that does not mean you don't come back. So a lot of times you go in an area, you catch one, you go away, come back, catch another, go away, come back, catch another. Okay, so there's also that plays a little bit too. Keep that in mind. So sometimes when you get there, you might not be actively feeding, but 2 hours later, they might be. So you can come back, catch them when they're actively feeding. What is your favorite bass spinning reel? Um, quite honestly, in the world of spinning reels, it doesn't really matter too much. As long as you spend at least $100, I think you're more than fine. If you look at our stuff is all Daiwa Shimano, so everything's above 100. It's actually everything's above $200. So we've been fishing for so long that we don't fish a lot of cheap reels anymore. And when we do, say we do, because quite honestly, I don't want to bring all my tournament grade stuff if we're just gonna go fish for white bass. Because when we fish for white bass, we tend to throw things all over the place. Everything doesn't get taken care of. Sand gets into it, gets scratched up real bad, things like that. So we end up buying another reel. We actually buy another reel, a cheaper reel, to go white bass fishing. And one of those reels that's really good that I still preach upon it is the Fluger President. The Fluger President is like, I think it's a $60 reel. In that price point, it's hard to beat. It is hard to beat that reel in that price point. And if you're just doing shaky head stuff, Hybrid Kill still actually uses it. So that's probably overall the favorite. But if you're talking about some nice and expensive, in terms of spinning reels, I'm more of a Shimano fan than I am a Daiwa fan. I am more of a Daiwa fan when it becomes bait casters. Okay, a lot of people hate me for saying that, but yeah, the Daiwa stuff, the new ballistic Tatula, yeah, Tatula ballistic's pretty good. I've been using that for a little bit. The drag's a little weird, kind of it sticks a little bit sometimes. That's why I say that because all of my Shimanos have been like pretty much flawless. So Shimano the CI4 Plus, the Stratic CI4 Plus, excellent reel. I think everything gets compared to that one. If you're a heavy, high dollar roller, you cannot go wrong with a Stella. I've got one Stella, 4,000 size. It's still probably my best reel. Still my best reel. I use it sometimes, but I use it to throw Nico rigs, Magnum Nico rig. My Stella 4000 on a Abu Garcia Iconelli rod, 7'6" Iconelli rod. I throw a big like Magnum Nico rig. Throw it on like rock, and it works really good. It's really good. Excellent drag. I use it for stripers too. Let's see. What's your go-to braid for Mr. Don? Go-to braid. If I had to pick, Power Pro Max Quattro. I'm a big fan of small lines. I'm a big fan of small lines. Small lines, high breaking strength. Okay, so yeah, Power Pro Max Quattro. I know it makes that kind of grindy sound when you're reeling it, but it doesn't. I really don't care too much about it. All right, guys, I'm about to sign off. Any last questions before we do? So, at least in the kayak world, I think we answered a lot. If anybody's wanting to, uh, anybody watching this that's not live, you're watching it later, uh, questions in the comments, and either I'll answer it or one of our fans will answer it. And we get a lot of guys from the Oklahoma kayak anglers. They watch our videos too, so they might stumble upon it. They might give you their 2 cents. It's actually pretty good too. All right, guys. See you, John.